Hi all and welcome to your Code of Conduct training. The purpose of this training is to highlight JTMEC's expected behaviours and appropriate business conduct to ensure we maintain high ethical standards and integrity. This training will cover anti-corruption, gifts and hospitality, conflicts of interest, discrimination and harassment, diversity and unconscious bias, workplace safety, data privacy and social media, and compliance statement. Corruption is defined as the abuse of power for personal, political, or commercial gain. An example of this is bribery. Bribery is the exchange of something that has value to the receiver and is given in the hopes of getting something in return. Corrupt activity, bribery, or attempted bribery is never acceptable for legal, moral, and ethical reasons. Each of us has a responsibility to ensure that all of our business relationships are conducted in an ethical and honest manner. Failure to do so harms society and our company, colleagues, and yourself. An example of a bribe could be gifts or hospitality. In determining what's acceptable, you should start by asking yourself some questions about how a situation might be perceived. For example, is the intent anything other than building a business relationship? Might offering or accepting the gift or invitation create the appearance of something inappropriate? Would you feel comfortable if the details were in a newspaper? Is it a secret? If you ever have any doubts, you should seek advice from your manager, a higher level manager, or the legal or compliance team. Conflict of interest arises when an individual or corporation has interests that, when combined, could corrupt their motivation or undermine their impartiality. For example, exploitation of a situation for personal or corporate gain. Conflicts of interest can be avoided by disclosing it at an early stage to all parties involved. Depending on the circumstance, other steps may need to be taken to resolve the conflict or potential conflict. A good first step is to start by asking yourself, is this ethical? Discrimination refers to unequal or unfair treatment of an individual or a group based on certain characteristics protected by law. Harassment refers to any form of verbal, visual, or physical conduct that could create or contribute to an intimidating, offensive, hostile working environment. An example of harassment is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment occurs when someone is subjected to unwanted sexual advances, petitioned for sexual favors, or physically or verbally abused. Harassment doesn't have to be of a sexual nature. It can include offensive remarks about a person's sex. For example, you could be guilty of harassing a man if you make offensive comments about men in general. Simple teasing or offhand comments might be allowed, but harassment may be illegal when it creates a hostile or offensive work environment. It's important that you recognize and understand sexual harassment so that you can help maintain a happy work environment, free from hostility and discomfort. There are specific policies and procedures in place that protect employees from harassment and discrimination. It's up to you to make sure you know what to do if you experience harassment and discrimination as a victim or a witness. Knowing how to report these incidences of harassment and discrimination make for a better workplace. It's important to remember that you should guard against harassment and discrimination, and you should know you are protected from retaliation. You should also report harassment and discrimination as soon as possible. Diversity in the workplace means harnessing the differences between us for our own good and for the good of the company. We all want to work in an environment which we feel valued and where our individual talents are recognized and utilized. Our business performance is enhanced by learning from the varied perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences of our colleagues. Innovative ideas and solutions to challenging issues can come from seeking input from those whose perspectives are different from our own. Bias is displaying an unfair preference for or against a thing, place, person, or group based on characteristics such as race, religion, age, weight, gender or gender identity, sexual orientation, and physical appearance, such as clothing, accents, and personal habits. It's been shown that we automatically characterize people for easy identification and are attracted to those who share our values and beliefs. This can lead to a prejudiced mentality that affects the depth of experience in creativity within the workplace. There are two types of biases. The first is conscious bias. This is when we are largely aware of our own preference for one thing over another. You are now encouraged to analyze your decision-making process whenever you detect a personal bias arising within yourself. The second type of bias is unconscious bias. This is when unconscious or hidden biases actively engaging in your preferences without realizing it. It's important we realize we hold deep-rooted values and beliefs learnt from an early age through upbringing, cultural environment, personal experience, and social class. These hidden biases can lead to discriminatory behaviour when they affect our rational and ethically based decision-making process. So how can we effectively deal with our own unconscious biases? We can begin through awareness. Start by being attentive to your first impressions when you interact with others. Notice how these feelings and thoughts reflect your biases and not necessarily the quantitative and qualitative information about the person. Secondly, we can begin to challenge our biases. They may be based on a moment in your life where they were appropriate, but now limit your interaction with others in a negative, if not harmful way. Try to counter your biases by honestly communicating with those around you. And thirdly, change. Everyone deserves fair and respectful treatment from others. We are all biased to some degree, but isolating and excluding others negatively affects a productive, inspiring, and creative work environment. Be prepared to change responses when faced with conflicting information. As a company, we strive to provide you with a work environment that is as safe as possible, but we're also relying on you to play your part in ensuring that we all have a safe environment in which to work. Working with tools, awareness of the environment, and slips and trips and falls cause a significant amount of workplace accidents. Some of the causes of these include not using tools or lifting devices as per instructions, not keeping safe distance when using cranes or fixtures, bad ergonomic positions in combination with tools, no respect of forklifts in the operation or heavy machinery on site, electrified or in other way energized systems, wet products like water or oil, weather hazards like icy areas or loose leaves, exposed cables, wires or hoses, no use of sufficient stands, platforms or other safety devices. We all have a role to play in keeping our workplace safe and free from hazards. If you notice a hazard, you have a responsibility to report it immediately to the appropriate department. If you are aware of any actual or suspected violations of law, our policies or procedures, we are relying on you to speak up and report them. Remember, company policy prohibits and protects you from retaliation for raising concerns. We take seriously all claims of retaliation and investigate and act promptly. We all have a responsibility to protect the data of our customers and employees. Privacy incidents often caused by people making simple mistakes out of line with our policies. To help avoid any such mistakes, we've created a set of data principles. Don't collect data unless you have to. Don't use data for purposes other than the purpose about which you have informed the individual. And protect data at all costs and destroy data when it's no longer required. We are all accountable for protecting the data we hold on our employees, clients, and business partners. When in doubt, follow these principles to help protect personal data. Notice and purpose. Your data should never be collected without your approval, and you should never collect data without approval. Always ask yourself the following. Is this information I'm about to collect personal? Do I need it? If you don't need the information, don't collect it. Consent. You must provide consent before a company can disclose any of your data. Equally, if you are ever in a position to collect data, your data subject must provide consent. Security and access. Data should always be made anonymous when possible to safeguard the subject. No one should have their data abused or misused. You must protect it from loss, theft, unauthorized use, or modification. There should always be means in place for an individual to access and, if necessary, correct the information we hold on them. Disclosure and accountability. Everyone has the right to know why their data is being collected and how it will be used. Customers have the right to hold accountable any company that is in possession of their personal data for what happens to their data. Violations of the law, our code of conduct, or company policies may lead to disciplinary action up to and including termination. In addition, such violations may result in civil or criminal consequences for both the person involved and JTMEC. For advice on the right course of action or to raise concerns about a potential ethical or legal violation by any of our fellow employees or business partners, employees should first approach their manager or their manager's manager. If this is uncomfortable, inappropriate, or for other reasons not possible or practical, the employee can contact human resources, legal, or the compliance function. Thank you all for completing your JTMEC Code of Conduct training.